Hey everyone, it's Corey here with Good Evening Tech, and I just wanted to give you an overview of just automating stuff with Python and how easy it can be. So, currently I've been working on a WordPress site and moving a theme to and from the local dev environment to the front end. It can become a little daunting after a while, so as you can see in my folder right here, that's my dev environment. That is the theme I have. What I used to do is I would copy it, send it to the desktop, open the folder, delete the node modules file, compress it, and then I would be able to upload it. So while that sounds like not a lot of work, when you do it over and over and over again, it can become a little annoying to just continue to do over and over. So what I decided to do is use Python to automate this step so I don't even have to worry about it. All right, so we're going to close out of these guys. We have a fresh Python file. So what I would recommend to you is create a file, create a folder that can hold this file in, because we're going to create a couple temporary files and you don't want them to override each other or do anything like that. All right. Going back and forth here, I'm going to open a folder. And let's see what we got here. Grab this guy. Send this one over here, and then I'm going to open the other one, and we're going to learn this code together. So hit new window. Takes a little bit to load. All right, now we are going to open. Let's see here. I have everything on the desktop, something you probably shouldn't do, but it just makes this process a little bit easier to show you guys. All right, once it takes its time. So the nice part about Python is it's a very easy language to read, and you don't have to take a lot of time to learn it. You can just look at it and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense with this. Let's see if it'll open this way. There we go. Computers never like to work when you're recording. It's the strangest thing. All right, so now that we have that open, the first thing I'm going to do is import a couple libraries from Python. So these libraries right here, it's nothing that you need to install yourself. They come with your Python modules. So for this, have installed Python 3.9, and the documentation I read, this should work with anything that's Python 3.6 and above. It might work earlier, but that's just what I read towards it. So the three modules we're taking in is the shuttil. I don't know how to pronounce that, but that sounds good enough to me. Subprocess and OS. OS is for the operating system. Subprocess will let us use the command line from inside of our Python file, and the shuttle lets us basically get file code that we don't have to write ourselves. So as you see when we go down, there's a lot of shortcuts that module gives to us. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple variables. So theme name, I'm going to call this Good Evening Tech Main, which is the name of our file. I'm going to get the WordPress theme folder. So usually websites will have a lot shorter file than this, but if you're using Homebrew has its own little section that it offscates stuff so it doesn't mess with Mac's actual installations, because your Mac does come with Apache web server. All right, the first command that we are going to run is the os.getcwd. So what that means is the current working directory. That is relative to the Python file that you have. All right, and then I'm going to grab my desktop because I like to do everything off of my desktop. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy our files over. So I'm going to put this in a try block because this command right here, copy tree, if a file exists with the same name or a folder, it'll throw an error. So it goes source, then destination. And with the try, we need an accept, and this is the error it throws if that exists. And in this accept, I'm just going to tell it to remove that folder and then try to copy it again. So we could put this in a for loop or something like that, but if it tries to delete it and it can't, I'd rather the program just error out and I can figure out why it's not working. Alright, the next thing we are going to do is go into that folder, the destination folder that we just copied over, and add that node modules. So we're going to get rid of the node modules folder because I think for this program or framework, whatever you want to call it, the theme, there we go, it is about 900 megabytes worth of files. So when you're trying to upload that to a server, that can cause a lot of heartache and run into rules that the server has about file size. So if I get rid of that, it takes it down to just a megabyte. And I don't have any running dependencies off of this. Alright, now the next thing is another try block. We're going to use subprocess and call. Call will, what's a good way to say this? It uses the terminal for us. Now, how call works is it takes an array of everything that we want to run. So once I type this out, we're going to talk about what it's doing. Theme name plus .zip, and then theme name. So this is going to run the zip command. If you don't have it installed on your Mac, I would recommend looking into Homebrew. If you don't use any kind of development environment already on your Mac, I recommend getting Homebrew. If you are on Linux, it's just running your package manager to download zip. And if you're on Windows, PowerShell and Command have their own separate zip procedures. So you would take what I have here out and replace it with what is for your operating system. But this is going to zip a file. The R flag means recursive, so it's going to go through all of the directories. If you didn't have the R flag, it would just compress files and not the folders. And we're just going to have a blanket accept right there to remove, if this file exists, destination folder .zip. Pretty much the same thing we did up there. And then to save time, I'm just going to copy this so you don't have to watch me type that again. Go right there, go right there. Ooh, why is it yelling at me? Gotta love VS Code. Thinking in PHP. A little crossover from other languages. Now we're going to go down here and add some cleanup. Move, and then I'm going to move that zip file we just made to our desktop. Now if you're curious why I did everything within the file right here, I learned with zip that if you go somewhere else that it's not in the command, like instead of calling it like this locally, if you just gave it a file path, it retains that file path, so when you unzip it, it creates all the folders from the parent backwards. So doing it this way just makes it a lot easier. Now, a lot of articles will reference the J flag, which the J flag is just the -J like that. That removes what is called the junk. So it would remove all the file paths, including what's inside of the zip file. So for a WordPress theme or anything that has directories or subdirectories, this would get rid of everything that you have in there. So instead of tinkering with this, I just thought this was the better decision. Now, on top of that, Python does have a built-in module for zipping. Looking through it and seeing how I would have to create nested for loops, I figured why not just use a terminal command that is a lot easier on us. All right, let's save this. It's always better to use an easier tool. So instead of writing those nested for loops, we can just call to the terminal to run a command for us. So let's see if I did everything correct again. So we'll run it with Python 3 main.py. Should take a little bit, and it deflated everything, and there we see our zip file right there. Now let's see if I can open it, see what's inside of it. And that looks right. It has all of our files in there. It has our assets folder, has everything built in there, so it seems to work. So this is a great tool to use, and you can automate a lot of tasks for yourself. So instead of having to go through all the basic steps, you can just click a script file and have it do it for you. I hope this helps you and you create something with Python to help yourself out. If you like this content, please hit that subscribe button, and you have a good evening.